Critical thinking appears to be in critical condition.
How are colleges adapting to current changes and more today on The Undercurrent?
Greetings and salutations. I just checked the map. Iran is still there.
We're still here.
And we're still here.
Yeah.
Unless we're podcasting in the afterlife.
I don't know. There could be a dead man switch for YouTubers, you know.
You think they give us better equipment in the afterlife? They're even cheap in the afterlife. What is this? All right, sorry. I'm all right. I'm over it. Oh, wait. You can't be on here. This is serious time. My little friend here, he only comes out for playtime. So when it gets serious, he gets scared.
I like your little friend.
He gets scared, or she gets, I don't know. I haven't checked under the hood, but they get scared, and they have to look at me whenever I'm telling bad news. So that's why they have to look at me. Because they look out there, they'll start single tear, and we can't have that.
No, we can't.
We got enough emotional people on this show as it is.
Never. No emotional people on this show ever.
we don't need one more. You little bastard. Nah, you're cute. It's okay. Yeah, today's April 8th, a week after April 1st. I totally forgot last Wednesday was April 1st.
It was probably all for the best that didn't happen, because honestly, this is not we've got enough fools running around, and we don't need to thoroughly scare our viewership.
And we've been fooled enough.
We have.
And as the Who said,
and we won't be fooled again.
Or as George Bush said, he can't be fooled. Fool me once, but can't get fooled again. You're gonna use a cool lyric from the Who, and then you're gonna butcher it like that. I don't listen to the Who. I listen to banjos and squirrels playing on harmonicas. That's my favorite music. That's George Bush's favorite music.
You know, it's
out there, and there's no reason to bring it back. Let's just let it keep sailing, keep going towards the horizon, buddy. We have some people here.
We got some people in here. That was a scary Easter rabbit. Yeah.
Oh, the scary Easter rabbit. Yeah, that was. Max and Chuck. We got CBC voter in the house too. What's going on, y'all?
Good to see y'all.
Buddy,
and again, we're all here. We're all still alive. I was just kind of surreal yesterday, walking around and like, okay, do I make decisions? What kind of decisions do I make?
I don't mean to be that guy, but I knew he was going to back down.
I hoped he would. I hoped that somebody was going to back down.
Well, I mean, it ain't like the president can open the briefcase and push buttons and then there come the nukes. It takes a significant series of steps to actually nuke somebody. Whereas back in the 40s, they just drop it out of a plane. Nowadays, it's a lot more sophisticated, and you have to jump through. Don't you have to still have the two people with the keys?
I believe so. Yeah, and they have to be able to force each other, and there are things that they have to do. And yeah, that may be the case, but we've seen that this administration does not. In fact, most administrations, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. That they may have their own processes. And also the thing that I'm concerned about and remain concerned about is terrorism. It's okay, something really nasty happens over there. Nobody really wants to blow the planet up, but that's not going to stop very nasty things happening from happening.
Yeah, I mean, if you hang on a second.
Mm-hmm.
If you get the right stuff in the wrong hands, yeah. I mean, that could totally happen, and that's why we don't need clowns running around when we own nukes or big bombs and stuff like that. So, but good news, if you're into good news these days, and I know it's a rarity, but we have some good news for you. So they're not going to blow Iran to kingdom come just yet. Yeah, I got things. Where's my thing? Riptide. Woo! Get your trunks on. Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
U.S. and Iran reached temporary truce, not a ceasefire. Something different. Because Iran said no to your ceasefires. So U.S. Iran reached temporary truce as Trump accepts Tehran's 10-point plan as basis for talks. I love how Trump does like these 10, 15, 20-point plans, and nobody gives a damn about it. But then the Iran says, well, here's our 10-point plan. They're like, oh, thank God. Somebody with brains. Thank you. Iran and the U.S. agreed to a 2-week ceasefire. Today, after Trump accepted a 10-point plan from Tehran as a basis for further negotiations. Round of negotiations in Islamabad, Pakistan has been planned for this coming Friday. Live at the Civic Center, the USA versus Iran in a cage match for the ages. Tickets on sale now at all. Sorry. Sacrifices of their sons and historic presence on the battlefield, the enemy has for over a month been pleading for a halt to the intense fire launched by Iran and the Axis of Resistance, which is so funny because Trump is such a clown. He's been like, yeah, they've been begging us. They've been begging us behind the scenes to stop it. It's like, you're the one who's begging, stupid. You so stupid, Poppy. You're the one who's begging. You stupid. Wow. And then, accordingly, after rejecting all proposals submitted by the enemy, after we didn't listen to any of their shit, Iran has prepared a 10-point plan and presented it to the American side via Pakistan. The Prime Minister of Pakistan has informed Iran that the American side, despite its public threats, has accepted these principles as a basis for negotiations and yielded to the will of the Iranian people. It added, the statement stressed that Iran will enter talks for 2 weeks and resume fighting if the terms are not met. So this is one of those where they're like, all right, we're going to cease fire, then you can just blow the shit out of us. No, that's not how this is going to turn out. Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi reiterated the same thing and added that safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will take place over the next week in coordination with Iran's forces. Let's talk about the 10-point plan. Their plan includes a U.S. non-aggression commitment, Iranian control over the Strait of Hormuz, which is going to be huge, acceptance of uranium enrichment, full sanctions removal, compensation to Iran, withdrawal of all U.S. combat forces from the region. Now, I don't know if that means the countries surrounding Iran. I would assume that that's the Gulf state region, and cessation of war on all fronts, including Lebanon. We'll get to that last part here in a second. With the greatest humility, I am pleased to announce that the Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States of America, along with their allies, have agreed to an effective or immediate ceasefire everywhere, including Lebanon and elsewhere, effective immediately. That's according to Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. Now, you notice he included Lebanon in there, right? We'll get to that in a second. Trump said early Wednesday, today, they agreed to a 2-week ceasefire contingent on the opening of the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran has yet to open the strait, but says it is ready to allow safe passage, conditional on coordination with Iranian forces. And they've been doing that so far with some they've been letting some ships through. Some have paid, I don't know, maybe they all have paid a passage fee, as it were, but some boats were getting through thanks to Iranian protection. Trump also said China helped facilitate the agreement. I'm pretty sure that was a little more salt in Trump's wounds. Israel has announced its acceptance of the 2-week ceasefire, but is refusing to include Lebanon. Oh, always got to be a hard ass, don't you? Everybody wants peace except for these fuckers. Israel supports Trump's decision to suspend strikes against Iran for 2 weeks, subject to Iran immediately opening the straits and stopping all attacks on the U.S., Israel, and countries in the region. Israel also supports the U.S. effort to ensure that Iran no longer possesses a nuclear missile, and terror threat to America, Israel, Iran's Arab neighbors, and the world. Prime Minister AI Benjamin Netanyahu said, adding that the deal does not include Lebanon or my sixth finger. The ceasefire agreement was announced as Iranian missile strikes targeted multiple areas across Israel, forcing millions into shelters. Tel Aviv has since continued to attack Lebanon and issue new forced displacement orders for residents of the country's south. Yeah, so and in return, Iran is still bombing Israel. So or at least they were. They had sent off a few volleys. Their 100th wave, 100 waves of missiles. I can't even imagine 100 missiles, much less 100 waves of missiles coming at me. But you know, they did manage to get their 100th wave off so they can get the free sandwich at Subway.
You know, when this is over, or at least, you know, the active conflict is over here, U.S. will have completely, we've already lost our standing. We are going to be looking even worse. I was just, we just had something in my feed coming up from the Atlantic. Somebody is doing an op-ed there basically saying that what this is doing is it's getting America's enemies to coalesce and come together, and our allies are running screaming.
Mm-hmm.
You see what's been done to us. And we've done to ourselves. We've done this to ourselves. We have utterly failed to raise up political leaders with a productive mandate. We have utterly failed as a country to do this. We have been a bunch of effing teenagers for 250 years. And this is where we are. We're basically a bunch of privileged teenagers, the school bullies, who have been that have, you know, gone past adolescence. Now a bunch of people in their 30s and 40s and 50s who are sitting around still smoking the same joints, still smoking the weed, still drinking in Boone's Farm. And we have made an absolute fluorescent mess of this situation. We're never going to get it back in my lifetime or your lifetime. This is an embarrassment.
Why you got shit on Boone's Farm? That's what I want to know.
Because I'm a wine person. You know that. And you like the wine I bring. The wine I bring does not make you sick the way Boone's Farm made you sick.
I can't remember. I don't, you know what? To be fair, I've only had Mad Dog 2020. I've never had Boone's Farm. I've managed to stay out of the Boone pool for as long. I've only heard the horror stories.
So you're a Boone's virgin?
I'm a Boone's virgin, yeah. Everclear too. I want nothing to do with that shit.
Yeah.
But you were right. It was like so when Trump was like trying to bomb his way out of the Strait of Hormuz and wasn't happening, he was like looking at Europe and NATO saying, hey, you got a stake in this too. Don't you want to come help? And they're like, nah, we good.
Oh man, we're gonna have to do a poll in here about rot gut.
Oh boy, that may have to be a whole show
about rot gut. I mean, that actually we could do maybe a secret show. We can talk rot gut, and then I can offer my wine recommendations. Think about it.
I don't know. You might want to keep that show a secret for real. Because the people be like, Boone's, Mad Dog, what is this? and then they end up looking like this. Dun dun dun. I always have a skull on hand just in case there's comedy afoot, which usually on my end that's a rarity. Yeah. So the UN, EU, NATO, they were like, nah, we're good. And then now the UN, they wanted to do a resolution protecting the Hormuz Strait. And China and Russia said, oh, you guys like vetoes? How you like these vetoes? China and Russia veto UN resolution on protecting Hormuz shipping. This may have had something to do with hello, talking person. This may have had something to do with Trumpy's decision to discuss the 2-week option because China and Russia said, all right, we got to put our foot down here. So China and Russia on Tuesday, that would be yesterday, voted on a UN resolution encouraging states to coordinate efforts to protect commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, calling the measure biased against Iran, while Washington's ambassador to the world body called on responsible nations to join the U.S. in securing the waterway. Come on, y'all. You don't want these Iranians who are kicking our ass to run this stuff, do you? The 15-member Security Council voted 11 in favor of the resolution presented by Bahrain, with 2 against China and Russia and 2 abstentions. Trump threatened that a whole civilization will die tonight as Iran showed no sign of accepting his ultimatum to open the Strait of Hormuz by Tuesday evening. I want to see. I'd love to be in that Iranian like leadership room or wherever, and they're saying a whole civilization will die tonight, and they're just looking at each other like, "This guy's serious." Oh no! Don't! You had all this time to destroy us, and yet you didn't. Oil prices have surged since the U.S. and Israel struck Iran at the end of February, unleashing a conflict that has run for more than 5 weeks, while Tehran has largely closed the strait that was previously the route for about a fifth of global oil and liquefied natural gas. The draft resolution has not been adopted owing to the negative vote of a permanent member of the council, Bahrain's foreign minister, Abdulatif bin Rashid Al Zayani said. And yes, China, I believe China and Russia, I don't know if China is, but I definitely know Russia is a permanent member, and they were one of the ones to veto it. So maybe China's not, I'm not sure. The U.S. ambassador to the U.S., Mike Waltz, condemned the Russian and Chinese vetoes, saying they marked a new low when Iran's shutting of the strait was preventing medical aid and supplies reaching humanitarian crises in the Congo, Sudan, and Gaza. Yeah, that's what
who created these humanitarian crises.
Yeah. Who's behind them?
Yeah.
Come on. It's like, well, we gotta go feed these people. You're the one starving these people. I know they try these mind games on you, and it's like, for some it still works, but if you've been paying attention, it's like, come on, this is just bullshit. Walt said Iran could choose to reopen the strait to seek peace and to make amends. He added, but until then and afterwards, we call on responsible nations to join us in securing the Strait of Hormuz, protecting and ensuring that it remains open to lawful commerce, to humanitarian goods, and the free movement of the world's goods. France deplored the vetoes. Like anybody cares what France has to say. The aim was to encourage strictly purely defensive measures to provide the security and safety for the strait, with aspiring towards escalation. Its UN ambassador Jerome Bonifant said, and then he had a truffle and said, "Oh, delicious." Sorry,
truffles. Sorry.
So Russia and China basically said, "No dice. Iran's got this." And I think that's what it is. It's like they saw like Iran has got control of the situation. Why would a toothless UN resolution anyway do anything to stop them? They're still going to bomb whoever tries to keep them from controlling the strait. And they've got the missiles to do it. They've got the territory to do it. And I think the United States knows this. I think Israel knows this. I think a lot of countries know this, and they're like, well, we're not going to have our boats blown up over something that we can avoid. And now you have this 10-point plan by Iran that basically, I guess, Trump's going to go along with for now until he does some because, they do ceasefires in the past, and they've done this sneaky stuff where they're secretly planning to bombs away. So, this is all just a crapshoot at this point, and especially when you got a wild card like Trump, not knowing what the hell he's going to do. Who knows where this is going to end up? That is for sure.
And the guy clearly has no friends, because friends would keep him from posting the crap that he's posting. I mean, unless that is a massive additional psyop to just get people to underestimate him. But the potential for blowback on that is so incredible. This man has no friends.
No.
But at the end of all this, nobody in the United States will have no friends.
No. I think it's not like it used to be where America was like closed off from the rest of the world. Like, you remember like hearing back in the 70s and stuff like that, how American styles and dances and stuff would end up like becoming popular in Japan,
Oh
like
yeah, very much
10,
so.
20 years later,
Yeah.
something like that. But that was all before the internet. Now you got the internet. Now you
Yeah,
got
and we're just as
Pocket. You got
influenced by K-pop. K-pop is so huge here and that sort of thing. But I remember there was also, for what it's worth, there was a period of time where American gospel music was incredibly popular in Japan. Japan is, I think, something like 4% Christian. They don't have a lot of Christians there, but they loved American gospel music, and they would have, church, gospel choirs. They had some from Chicago and from all over the place that would be invited to tour in Japan, and the Japanese loved it. And of course, one of the greatest live albums of all time, Cheap Trick, live at Budokan,
yeah.
came out of that period. But I'm just going into my happy place right now because I don't
Well,
have
the
anywhere else
point
to
of
go.
all that was that now, I mean, it's like we said earlier, like I don't think people will see Americans as a group anymore, as like one big, like, overweight person on a Walmart scooter with a 50-gallon thing of Coke. I mean, they know enough about Americans that they know there's political division in this country, just like there is in everywhere else. That they know that there are conservatives, they know that there are the corporate liberals, and they know there's like left wing and right wing, and so they know. I maybe people who are just kind of like not really who don't really think that much would probably say, oh yeah, all these Americans are alike, just like we would say, or some people in this country would say, oh, all those people in Russia are alike, or all those people in Iran are alike, or all those people, it's like, you don't know unless you've been there, unless you've lived there, you don't know how the group is. So there may be hope for Americans if we come out of this right, but I don't
I
think
think we
we're going to come
do.
out
And
of this.
if the best of us can figure out how to organize and work together, but I think we've been divided intentionally, but there we are.
Right. Well, hopefully, I don't know, maybe Trump came along because we needed a good kick in our ass when it comes to our reputation, that sort of thing. Remember how we were like when we were kids, like America #1, but what's America really #1 in now?
Yeah.
Incarcerations and military budget.
And being assholes.
Yeah, we were always good at that.
Well, we're always good at being, but we've always done it. I was recently, I'm part of a club, and we have a monthly pub quiz that we do on Zoom. And there was a member of the club who was known for being somewhat anti-American, and he comes in immediately and he's talking about Americans, they're all racist and this and that. And I can't really disagree with it. A bunch of racist rednecks and everything. So I was asked what the name of my team was when we were getting up the game started. I said, well, I guess the Rednecks. Ned and I are the Rednecks, and he laughed, went along with it. But it's just yeah. I mean that's where we're at, and he and I we became friends on Facebook, and we're cool. But I can also understand that if the rest of the world feels that we are jeopardizing the rest of the world, that they're going to get a little annoyed. And why can't we just say maybe we are not a government by the people for the people anymore? That America has lost its mission, its mandate, its reason for being, and that maybe it's up to us to get it back. Just a thought.
We'll see. Fingers crossed on that. But, it's I think things are probably going to get worse before they get better. And I think you're actually seeing end stage of empire here in the United States. Maybe it may not be the very end, but it's definitely the beginning of the end. For sure, especially with our rep being just tossed around like that. And there's no serious candidates coming up in either party that's going to make the America look any better. I mean, really, there really isn't. There's either stupid people, there's bought out people, there's stupid bought out people, there's and you got people who can only care about their political parties. They don't really care about constituents. It's going to get a lot more muddy before the water gets clear, for sure.
I think the best among us also may not have the kind of wide appeal that's needed to be brought up that way. So that's what I'm thinking.
Well, that's what this show's for. We're here to help the world learn that not everybody in America are assholes, and not all assholes are bad. There are good assholes and there are bad assholes.
Well, assholes can be are actually kind of essential. So we'll just leave it there.
Meanwhile, in Germany, we have new German conscription law in effect. Eligible men may now need approval for trips abroad. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
So men aged between 17 and 45 now need approval from the Bundeswehr,
I think.
Bundeswehr, for longer stays abroad. Under the new Military Service Act, this applies to trips abroad lasting more than 3 months. The Defense Ministry has announced. The Daily Frankfurter. I can't say Frankfurter. I know it's a town. I know it's a town, Frankfurter, but every time I hear Frankfurter, I think of hot dogs.
Yeah.
Rundschau.
I think about Rocky Horror, but yeah.
Yeah. Frankfurter Rundschau was the first to report on the change. Sorry, Frankfurter Rundschau. But that's what some of us Americans are. We got 13-year-old brains. We see Frankfurter and we're thinking hot dogs. The rule is part of what is known as the Military Service Modernization Act, which came into force on January 1st this year. The law is intended to ensure that the Bundeswehr is fit for the future in terms of personnel and organization. Plans include, among other things, a more attractive form of voluntary military service. More attractive form. Broader registration of young men and new legal instruments to enable faster action if needed. Specifically, this concerns paragraph 3 of the Conscription Act, which governs the scope and duration of compulsory military service in Germany. Paragraph 1 states compulsory military service is fulfilled by military service or by civilian service. The provision applies to all men of conscription age between 18 and 45. The newly worded paragraph 2 now says male persons who have reached the age of 17 must obtain approval from the competent Bundeswehr Career Center if they intend to leave the Federal Republic of Germany for longer than 3 months. As long as military service remains voluntary, this approval is deemed to have been granted, a ministry spokesman said. The aim, he added, was to find a straightforward arrangement for people traveling abroad for as long as military service is voluntary. Approval is in principle regarded as granted. However, the necessary administrative regulations have not yet entered into force. In theory, therefore, it still formally applies that approval from the competent Bundeswehr Career Center must be obtained before traveling abroad for more than 3 months. The spokesman stressed. However, since under current law, military service is based exclusively on voluntary service, such approvals are in principle to be granted. There's more here. You'll be able to read this on our Substack. That's the Undercurrent, the number 4, the letter U, .substack.com to read the whole article. And, I see this and I see the United States raising their army age to 42, something like that. And I know you can be in the military at an older age. What they're talking about, these are ages of when you can actually join the service, right? So
right.
In this case, they're raising the age up to 45. So if you're 44 and lonely, you want to shoot somebody and you're German, well, we have a job for you.
Yeah, what attracted my attention first of all was that this regulation, this system came into force at the beginning of the year. So I'm getting some idea that maybe some of our allies that are currently our allies may have been getting wind of some of this, and that they wanted to shore up their defenses. But the other thing that gets me is that, men of military age are potentially being restricted from traveling, which is antithetical in what's supposed to be a free, open society. So what I'm hearing here is that various allies, or, that are allies for right now, are getting nervous. They are getting concerned, and that we're going to begin to see further restrictions possibly on movement in our country and other countries, because people are preparing themselves for potential large-scale war.
Yeah. And just because the draft went away back in the late 70s, I think the Vietnam War was the last one we had the last draft in. The recruitment numbers have been up last year, but probably not up to the numbers that they want them to be. And so if things start getting really cooking, especially in the, in the Middle East and areas like that, they're gonna, the peacetime is over. They're gonna probably drag these kids. And I saw Amber's comment, and she has an 18-year-old son. Yes, keep your eye on that, Amber. I don't think your son has anything to worry about as far as being drafted, but then again, stay frosty, because things tend to change at a quick pace, especially when you have a feckless Congress, or one that's going along with some of the dumb shit that you're doing. So I had to do that with my nephew back in 2003. He was thinking about going into the Army. This was when we were what was it? We'd just gone into Afghanistan. Now we were about to go on Iraq. I said, no, don't do it, man. He said, yeah, that money sounds good, but those people are going to lie to you, and you're going to end up somewhere killing people that you don't want to kill, and it's going to fuck your head up. And so he didn't do it. He didn't join the military, thank goodness. I'm assuming it was other factors besides his uncle saying he'd kick his ass if he did it, but I like to think that had a big part of it. But that's the thing. It's like, how far is this country and its allies going to go for empire?
Yeah. And something that we're not benefiting from. We're simply not benefiting from a lot of this. We're suffering for it, but we're not benefiting.
When they have these commercials and stuff, like the flag commercials, we make our flags in America. Well, who gives a shit? I mean, it's okay, but this is all just like propaganda type stuff. And these recruiters lie to these kids on the regular about what's going to happen to them, what they're going to get, and all this kind of stuff. And it ain't just me saying that. These are like other recruits who have said that. There's videos out there of people in boot camp passing the phone around, recording what their recruiter said to them. Oh, yeah, remember your recruiter said you was going to see the world? Yeah, the world being the bottom of a boat in Iran. not exactly where I wanted to go, but,
yeah,
just I wouldn't worry about the draft right now, but I would say stay frosty and keep on these people's asses, because that's the last thing we need is for our kids to get thrown into this. And by I mean our kids, I mean y'all's kids, because I'm just the uncle. I ain't nobody's daddy.
Yeah.
And it ain't just that. There's also our food prices are going up, right? Mm-hmm. And now, and there needs to be a line drawn there too with the food, right?
Found this story. It's an interesting one.
So nearly half of consumers willing to boycott for political or social causes. I know in the past it may have seemed okay, like just something minor with the stuff, but now some major stuff going on with food, and this is well overdue, I think. While high prices are continuing to hit customers, many are still shopping with values in mind, according to new data released from Numerator's 2026 Visions report. Nearly half of consumers said they would stop purchasing from a company that takes a political or social stance misaligned with their values, up 2 points compared to July last year. Excuse me. Nearly 4 in 10 consumers, about 38%, said they participated in at least one consumer boycott in the past year after rolling back DEI initiatives in early 2025. Numerator found that Target's traffic among African-American shoppers is down 10.9 million trips, about 16%, accounting for nearly 40% of the retailer's total sales decline in the fiscal quarter ending October 31st last year. Numerator's data also found that artificial intelligence is being increasingly used by consumers for shopping purposes. Among all U.S. consumers, 12% said they now use AI to help with shopping, up 4 points versus July last year, while 23% of Gen Z consumers say the same, about up 14 points. Among AI users, consumers see value in AI's ability to find deals, 32%, compare prices and features, 30%, and provide inspiration for meals and brand research, 29%. Numerator also found that returning customers are driving brand growth. On average, the top 100 fastest growing brands of 2025 as identified by Numerator, increased household penetration by 1.5% points, while trips per household increased 3.5%. Relative to their existing shopper bases, the top 10 brands of 2025 were significantly more likely to acquire consumers at both ends of the generational spectrum. These brands were 23% more likely to acquire Gen Z shoppers and 31% more likely to acquire baby boomers, which Numerator noted as highlighting an important balance. And Gen X, well, screw you. Who are you, Gen?
Who were we? We don't actually.
What is that letter again? And was that an X or was it a Q? Are you Gen Q? Is that what it? Yeah, I see people using AI for lots of different things. I will use AI whenever I'm doing technical work on my computer or something. Like I don't know how to read a crash report, right? So like if a program crashes, usually puts out some little text file saying what the hell happened. And then when you try to read it yourself, if you're not too technically inclined, it's just going to look like Klingon gibberish. But when you feed that into the AI, like I use this thing called Qwen, Qwen. I don't use any of the bigger ones. And it'll tell me, okay, this is, I've seen in the crash log, this is what this does. This is why it's crashed, which now that's helpful, right? Now using this to find the best deals. Yeah, AI sucks, but if it's helping you save money,
people are looking for that. And one of the things that I'm really concerned about is that, I think I've mentioned this on the show as well, that a lot of retailers are pushing people to shop online, either through their mobile devices or directly on their computers. They don't necessarily want people in their stores, and they want to be able to collect as much data as possible, which is easy to do when you have the loyalty programs, the coupons. You don't get coupons in the mail anymore. You will find, sometimes you'll find them in the newspapers, but it's very limited. It's not like it used to be. The coupons are embedded in various loyalty programs that are on your phone or on a loyalty card. So they're tracking all of your data, and they're making it harder and harder for people to effectively shop in stores. And the same thing like with the digital price labels. And they have some good uses, but one thing that can happen is if the prices change during the day or during the week, you may not be able to get the best deal. If you shop online, you can sometimes lock in that best deal. So that's happening. What I found also very interesting is that 1 in 4 consumers have participated in boycotts, boycotts of retail. And we know Target is having a real tough time right now. And I mean, I like Target. I've shopped there, but when they did the DEI, when they dropped it because of the administration saying we want this dropped, they lost a significant number of customers and dollars. And so for me, the encouraging thing about this study is that it does suggest that people are willing to participate in boycotts. What it has to happen is it has to be better organized. We have to do a much better job of sending a message, having a clear message, letting people know what their alternatives are. When people were trying to do the general strike at the end of January, who on earth came up with that? That was just plain dumb. Because you had at the end of January, people are broke in January. And they had it at the end of January when rent is due. And it didn't work. But people are willing. 1 in 4 people has indicated, yeah, they are willing to participate in a boycott or some kind of collective action. What has to happen is we need to have the leadership to come in and get these things organized to make it easier for the consumers to do so, and to really send that message. Hey, you do this, we're going to do this. It's out there. Somebody just has to organize it.
Yeah, and again, it's like we were talking about before. You have more access to information about products and companies now than you did in the past, right? Used to in the past, you had to rely on whistleblowers alone to tell you that stuff was wrong. or maybe the company itself would do a self recall if they found something wrong with something, obviously, so they wouldn't get bad PR or something like that. But yeah, you're saying it's not where it needs to be yet, but the like what is it is it BD boycott, divest, and is it
Um,
BDS?
yeah,
Yeah,
disinvest is boycott.
divest and something else. I can't remember.
Yeah,
But that wasn't working for the longest time. The boycott Israel
yeah.
program. It wasn't working for the longest time because we were like, well, why? Why would we do this? You know, they seem like that.
Sanction.
But
Thank you,
now
Chuck.
sanction, thank you. Yeah, so now, but see, now the image of Israel itself has changed for the world because of more information coming out, more critical eyes on the situation. Where and yeah, you're getting the propaganda like you always do, but now you're Israel is not relying on you being scared of criticizing them anymore. They can't, because now it's because everybody are doing it. And I'm just picking out Israel as a
Yeah.
BDS example of how it is actually wasn't working in the past, and how now you just give it some time and you got to build it up and you got to keep building to it, and then eventually it'll happen. So, and we need to do this with some of these products too that have like the microplastics in it that people don't know about and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So we need to, better leadership, like you said, and we need to get a lot more people involved, particularly the whistleblowers too, who are the insiders who know all this stuff. So,
Right.
but a lot of that takes critical thinking to do that
And a
kind of
free and
stuff.
open and independent press
Yeah,
to get the word
which we
out,
don't have.
which we don't.
We don't have, but we still have critical thinking. But for how long?
For how long?
Because
Yeah.
it seems to be escaping our colleges. As we get here to the catch of the day, critical thought and critical condition. What's this about, Lainey?
Well, you've heard me talk on this show about what's been happening in higher education with going after student loan programs, which in some cases I actually think the Department of Education was right. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but to limit the amount of the people can borrow under certain programs, because I do think some universities have been taking advantage of that. Some schools have been taking advantage of these programs, getting people to go into hock as much as possible to line the coffers of the school rather than actually helping that person to pursue a legitimate degree that could lead to a solid career path. But put that over there. What has also been happening, though, is that there have been any number of initiatives by this administration to, say, for example, want to remove DEI programs or to censor what is being discussed in classrooms by professors, or to simply to try to eliminate programs that are seen as not profitable for the school. Now, I want to make it clear that I am not strictly condemning the Department of the Department of Education and this current administration. The schools themselves have created a very fertile ground for this sort of thing to happen. The schools have, in my view, mismanaged their money. They have mismanaged their programs and their hirings, and they have focused more on bloated administrative budgets rather than actually hiring people who are there to educate, which of course is the primary mission of any school. In addition, and you and I have discussed this, we both have degrees, but neither one of us believes that that is the right path for everybody. There is degree inflation, that people, used to be able to get jobs right out of high school are now being expected to get master's degrees if they want an entry level job, or even if they want to progress in their field. Even though those degrees may not, the educational process is expensive. Again, bloating budgets, taking away resources from other fields like the liberal arts, and letting people just move into their careers and also become increasingly indebted and therefore keeping them in jobs that may not be suited for them. So it's big business. Education's become big business. So I'm not just blaming the current administration, but one of the so there are several things I wanted to bring up. Recently, there's been a lot of press about schools like the University of Chicago, University of Oklahoma, University of Idaho, who are eliminating whole degree programs. In some cases, they are in what are called the DEI fields: women's studies, African American studies, disabilities studies, but they're also eliminating degree programs in the humanities and in the liberal arts. So things, the foreign language programs and the classics programs and those sorts of things. And what we're looking at now, this is going to, as this guy has to say, it's going to backfire, because what's going to happen is that the schools they're cutting their classics programs, they're cutting their humanities programs, and young people are not going to have any particular reason. And once you cut out those programs, well, that's what universities specialize in, is the liberal arts. Even if you are in some form of a technology major, you're still expected to complete a liberal arts curriculum. So they used to call them general studies. I don't know what they call them now, but you were absolutely expected to do that before you could complete your degree in that technical field. Now it is possible, and in fact, quite possible, for somebody to go to a boot camp or to take a streamlined program in 14 weeks, complete their certifications, and move onward and get a career going in some of these tech fields. Although, again, we're seeing this whole learn to code thing is also collapsing around our ears. But we may end up with a population that is not getting a liberal arts education, and not saying everybody needs it, but not getting that liberal arts education, and is instead just being trained for very specific careers. And then when that career industry that falls or gets bloated and congested, they move on to something else without a solid basis in the liberal arts. Now, again, not everybody wants to do that, but there is some real evidence pointing to the fact that the liberal arts are absolutely critical for people having career success. And a couple of things that have been acknowledged. Let me just pull this up here. I'm going to try and I apologize if you want to go ahead and check out our Substack. We have a lot of stats and a lot of information in there about how employers regard liberal arts graduates. And one thing that has consistently been happening, it's been happening since I was in school, is that liberal arts graduates, people with degrees in philosophy, for example, things that are sometimes derided as being useless degrees, they're actually, they start slower. They start their career at a lower level, making less money, but that increases significantly over time. And this is also happening. We're also finding that employers can still absolutely believe that when somebody has strong foundational competencies, they are better able to pivot and learn new skills and learn new careers. In addition, it has been found that employers are saying, look, we need people who are capable of functioning in the workforce. They need to be able to work well with others, to communicate and to argue, to debate, and do so in a civil manner. That's what is supposed to happen in the academic environment. You are in your philosophy class, and I remember we would go back and forth. Now, we were polite. We tried to be. We would be in English class. We would discuss, and we would interpret, and we would go back and forth. But that gave us skills that we would need as we matured, as we moved into our careers. Again, the ability to write clearly, to think clearly. This is what you're trained for when you're getting that liberal arts education. Again, not everybody needs it, but it's a very important tool for many people who are moving into that workforce. Another thing that I found extremely disturbing is that a number of foreign language programs are being eliminated. And there is a real problem with that, because it means that people who are attempting to who are moving into careers where they're working with international audiences, they may be working in translation, in education, they may be working within different cultures. Lacking those language skills can create an enormous problem. In fact, I think there was one survey that I found that showed 9 out of 10 employers surveyed said that foreign language skills were incredibly important within their business. So to see that some of these schools are cutting out these programs, making them unavailable to students, is incredibly disturbing. Particularly since some of these are state universities that are supposed to be more accessible to people of more modest means. And what this could mean is that the degrees in the classics or in ancient languages or in the arts suddenly are only going to be available to those of incredible privilege. And we don't need that. That's not good. It's not good for anybody at this point. Now, what is encouraging is that I'm seeing that some schools are rethinking this. University of Oklahoma apparently has, while it eliminated some programs, they're also looking at restructuring their bachelor degree programs and making them into 3-year programs. By the way, 3 years is standard in Britain for a bachelor's degree. It's standard in many European countries as well, other countries. We have this 4-year degree program. People are in school a lot longer in the U.S. for higher education, actually even with high school, than they are in other countries. I want to say in Britain, for example, they go to what we might call high school for about 3 years, and then then they go on to university, which could be 3 years. If you're going to become a doctor, that's 6 years. You do that in one fell swoop. You're not doing what we do here: 4 years of high school, 4 years of university or college education, then 4 years of med school. They condense that. People are in the workforce sooner if they decide to change their mind. They're younger when they decide to change their mind, so they can pivot to something else. They're earning more money. They're getting more experience. And if we could maybe look at that like the University of Oklahoma to make things more accessible, I think that would be a really good option. But I think it's going to require alumni, particularly those of liberal arts colleges, as well as employers, to say, hey, when we sacrifice the liberal arts, or when we tell people that your alternative is to go in these very narrow certificate programs, those people are going to be missing out. And that should not be encouraged in our government. And I think that some of these universities are doing this in part because they're falling apart financially. They're also very concerned with meeting the needs, doing what this administration wants, because they're afraid of losing those student aid dollars. But they should never have put themselves in that position to begin with. This is the years of mismanagement. Those birds are coming home to roost. So there's plenty of blame to be spread around here. And the people who are suffering for it and who are going to be suffering from it are students, workers, and eventually the employers themselves.
Yeah, exactly. There's been a great shift in the importance of college since you and I were puppies. Because I remember, we weren't too far removed from the days of when state colleges and city colleges were free. When a lot of the boomer generation got to take advantage of that. And I'm not doing class, like warfare between the eras. I'm just saying that there was a sweet spot there for the longest time, where you had a job that actually paid you enough to rent or even buy a house, to pay for your college education, to have all that in one lump thing. And now you can't even have one of those things today, because like you said, with the colleges, particularly in recent years, with like sport, with these colleges that have big sports teams, right?
Mhm.
They want to pay their college coaches. They want to pay them well. Right now, you have the students, these athletes who are coming in getting these NIL contracts, right? They're basically they can make money in college where before they couldn't have jobs to a certain extent. It was kind of a weird thing, but now it's like, hey, good morning, Rondo. Good to see you, or good afternoon, wherever you're at. Yeah. So, and now it's like, okay, what do you want to do? Okay, you want to get a degree. So you want to get a degree. So now you really have multiple options of what you can do than you could before, right? Like I said, again, you could do like a lot of online courses and stuff like that you couldn't do in the past, like 30 years ago or something like that. So there's more options for you, but like these employers are saying, some of these employers are like, okay, you need to have a bachelor's degree, but we're only going to pay you like $15 an hour.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I want to point this out. Also, we're talking about inflation, and this is just mind-boggling. When I went to my state school, Illinois State University, we paid $4,000 a year, and that was tuition, fees, room and board. There was a little bit more for for my books and that sort of thing, but that was about it. That comes out to about 10 grand a year now. Nowadays, that schools, I want to say something in the neighborhood of 27,000 a year that the students are paying, and their parents or student aid money. It is just it's just outrageous. What has happened? What has happened there?
The textbook thing has always been a scam too,
because even when major scam.
You go, and for those of you who don't know, you go to get your textbooks, right? They assign you textbooks, and you go to the bookstore where you get them, right? Or at least this is how it used to be. And you'd find a cheap copy of the volume they used last year. And you're like, oh, this should be good enough. And they're like, oh, no, you need the most current version. And it's, of course, brand new. And it's going to be like a couple $100 for a book that you're really going to only need for that class. You may need it for something else if you're majoring in it or something. But there's that was like in the 80s. And that was at a state college, Mississippi State, where they were doing this stuff. Yeah, the tuition was a lot lower. I don't even know what the tuition is there now. They're an SEC school as well. You're an SEC country. You know how people, they just go crazy over their sports down there, and they're going to pay for it, right? And it means the schools are going to pay for it. The boosters are going to pay for it. They're going to raise ticket prices at these games. And then and along with that, we'll raise tuition. Even if you're not a sports fan, you still got to support the old team, that kind of business. So yeah, it's definitely a different time from then. And I'm glad the kids have their options. Just choose wisely. Because the future, who knows what the future is going to hold within this year, much less within the few years that college students have. They're fresh out of college, they got their degree, and getting shot down left and right at these places that won't pay them or that sort of thing. This is one time where I'm glad I'm old and I'm not having to deal with.
This is one time I'm just like so glad that I went into school at a certain time. I got into that sweet spot where women were going into education, and we were able to get an education without anybody looking askance at us. But it was not ridiculous in terms of price. We got a solid education. There's if you check out the Substack that I sent, one of the references from the American Enterprise Institute, which is a libertarian think tank. And there's a really fair and even-handed assessment of this. And showing, the bloated budgets where, the money's been taken out of actual teaching and put into administration, and now everybody's panicking because they've gotten used to running things a certain way. So I'm hoping that we'll see those real changes, and I'm hoping also to see better education at the K through 12 level. young people will have more opportunity for the liberal arts and are not being crammed into being taught to exams so that they can meet certain state standards for keeping their accreditation. There's a factor there as well. Young people need to be getting the training in the liberal arts, education in liberal arts as well. It's important for everybody.
Yeah. We were talking about, I don't know if you and I were talking about it, but we were talking about how AI in schools now, I guess we talked about this last week.
It was interesting. Yeah.
Now how they're going back to oral exams. Like
I think school. It's Lord's work.
But I mean, that's the thing. It's like, kids these days are taught to get ahead. They're not taught to grow themselves as a person. They're taught to become something financially successful, or you're a movie star, you're an astronaut or whatever, right? And and people are saying, okay, well, I need this college education, I need this AI to help me get this college education. It's all a means to an end, and then education just kind of gets left by the wayside too. So let's check in on the recurring tide now, some of the stories we've been covering. And food fraud, let's take out all the bad stuff, but then we're gonna do the old bait and switch. How about that? Shift to natural ingredients opens the door to food fraud. Now you may read that and say, oh, well, you're just shitting on natural ingredients. No, that's not the point. The point is people are taking advantage of these bad things coming out of your food and doing other things with it. So as food companies rush to replace artificial ingredients with natural sources, they could be opening themselves up to fraud in their frenzy to reformulate. With consumers prioritizing their health and states weighing potential bans on certain additives or dyes, food makers are under pressure to respond. More than 200 bills have been introduced by state lawmakers in the last 15 months, according to Kevin Kenny, senior advisor at compliance and certification firm Food Chain ID. It's a very challenging time right now, and there's significant risk around swapping out ingredients, Kenny said during Food Dive's virtual food manufacturing summit hosted with Manufacturing Dive and Supply Chain Dive. All these dives. The abundance of state regulation, along with Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s request that the industry phase out artificial dye by the end of this year, is spurring unprecedented demand for natural colors that suppliers are struggling to meet. That's leading to a surge in fraudulent dyes and ingredients, according to Kenny. So we finally get this bad stuff out, and we're going to sneak it right back in. We've seen quite an increase in the amount of food fraud right now. He said all these things that you're trying to do in moving toward healthy or natural gives an opportunity for economic adulteration. Suppliers are mixing synthetic and natural colors to stretch out supply, Kenny said, or adding dyes to spices. In other cases, olive oils are being diluted with cheaper seed oils. To avoid risk, food companies should vet their suppliers and work with trusted vendors with transparent supply chains, according to Kenny. Food processor ADM, for example, has built a full rainbow of natural colors through vertical integration, and its relationships with farmers allow the company to maintain control over the pigment extraction process. Brad Schwann, vice president of global category marketing at ADM, said food companies need to choose partners with the right quality systems to make sure that you really are getting exactly what you think you're getting. Reformulation is a big deal. It's not going away, Schwann said, and working with those trusted suppliers that can deliver the kind of quality, reliability of supply that you need to keep your business running. The FDA has signaled it won't enforce rules that prevent companies from adding the no artificial colors label when using natural colors. While this could result in less regulatory scrutiny when natural color fraud takes place, manufacturers are still open to litigation risk, according to Kenny. A lawsuit filed last fall, for example, alleged that Continental Mills mislabeled their cinnamon swirl quick bread mix with the label no artificial colors, flavors, preservatives, when the product contains silicon dioxide. Well, that's natural, which the consumers claimed is an artificial preservative. Oh, it's not natural. Okay. Yeah, that's all natural. We got it doesn't say natural in here though. It says no artificial colors, flavors, or preservatives, but it didn't say natural either. It's zombie colors and flavors. Even though the FDA is not going to come after you, I can't emphasize enough that doesn't mean that you have safe harbor there. Kenny said, I would be worried about litigation risk. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're just, it's one scam replaced with another, right? Oh, look, we're getting the stuff out of the food. See, we're doing it. But what are you replacing it with? Stuff.
No, seriously. The thing is that the term natural is not defined. It's not a regulated term. So when they're using this language, it's up to the company to decide what it thinks is natural. We've also got this supply chain problem right now. So even if folks, if they want to do this sort of thing and swap out these ingredients, they may not be able to get them or get them easily. And which is also important, is that oftentimes it depends on the food company to decide to determine and to certify whether it's working with ethical ingredient suppliers. And that's not always easy to do, particularly since going overseas right now may not be the smartest thing to do in the world.
Yeah. May want to work on your Canadian accent if you do go over there. Because it's like you can wear a fake mustache and go, I am not American, I love poutine. Hockey.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's always going to be shenanigans as long as there's a buck to be saved, right?
Yeah.
And that's the whole bottom line of this with the food. Is they're trying to save costs. And so by taking out these artificial flavors and replacing them with something just as sketchy, is you're not really defeating the purpose, but you're probably still saving money. And I think that's all this. It's like musical chairs. And then once the music stops, it basically, people are sitting down on the prices and keeping prices low, and they're gonna do it till it's like whack-a-mole, like regulatory whack-a-mole. Boom, I got you here, but then you're gonna pop up over there. Boom, I got you there, and it's just something you constantly gonna have to keep an eye on when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And read your labels. Read your labels too.
Read your labels, but the labels are not always accurate. There are things that they can say natural flavors, but that can mean many different things. They could say spices. I mean, they've been, food manufacturers will put spices, but they won't say what spice.
Mm-hmm.
And for people who might have allergies or sensitivities or medication interactions or have religious restrictions on what they're eating, that can be an issue as well. So, we were talking earlier, you can, do what you can to research brands and patronize those brands that you can trust, and make it clear to them that you have high expectations.
Yeah. I guess that's the bottom line, is
let them know that.
Thoroughly investigate what you're putting into your body. And like I said, read the labels, but then you can also find probably company information on these labels. You can do your own investigating. I know that seemed like a dirty word during the old panty when you said that, but it's very important to do your own research, because if you rely on some of these places, they're just going to lie to you and try to get more money out of you. So critical thinking, that's the theme of the show today. It should be the theme for everybody. So the Midwest is getting hit here with the food pantry network across the Midwest abruptly shutting down, leaving 300,000 families in the lurch. A Midwest food pantry network that served hundreds of thousands of families has abruptly closed its doors. Ruby's Pantry, which distributed food at 87 locations across Iowa, Minnesota, North Dakota, and Wisconsin, announced yesterday it had immediately ended its operations. The organization helped more than 300,000 families every year, Minnesota Public Radio reports. Over the past several months, we have been thoughtfully realigning the work, structure, and focus of Ruby's Pantry to ensure our mission remains at the center of everything we do. The organization's statement reads, as part of this process, we have worked to better align community needs with our goal of operating in the most effective and seamless way possible. As a result, we have decided to end the operations of Ruby's Pantry effective immediately. Wait, what?
Yeah, I mean, I have many things to say, Uncle Warren, about this, but do go on. I'll say it later on.
The public announcement didn't provide specific reasons for the closure, but in another statement by Minnesota Public Radio, the organization explained that the ministry is no longer financially sustainable. The Independent has contacted Ruby's Pantry for comment. The food pantry, which was founded 24 years ago, distributed about 242,000 bundles of food last year and operated with about 17,500 volunteers annually, according to its website. The network allowed families to pay $25 for bundles of groceries and other necessities that could be worth up to $100. Shay Morris, the president and CEO of Second Harvest Northland, a food bank that operates in Minnesota and Wisconsin, said she's concerned about how rising food prices are impacting families. You know, going to the grocery store is more expensive. People ask, how do I feed my family? We've got seniors on fixed incomes, and now we've had more recent SNAP changes, Morris told Minnesota Public Radio. So that's almost creating the perfect storm, along with Ruby's Pantry not being available, that there's going to be a need for more food access. Americans are becoming more worried about the rising costs of food and other necessities. Some 66% of U.S. adults said they're very concerned about the cost of groceries and other consumer goods, according to a Pew Research Center survey in February. The U.S. war with Iran, now in its second month, may drive up grocery prices further. The Middle East region is crucial to the world's supply of nitrogen fertilizer, and disruptions to that supply could lead to higher food prices, according to Forbes. So that is weird why they would shut down a major artery like that to help people.
Yeah, what I was reading about, it sounded like that there had been some financial issues for a while, but it also sounded to me like they weren't doing anything publicly to address the issue. And when that press release that they sent out, it's gibberish. Let's put our critical thinking caps on. It said nothing. It was a lot of words to say nothing.
Yeah, let's read that again, because it's
please do.
I was thinking that while I was reading it. I said, this is nothing but a word salad. Yeah, over the past several months, we have been thoughtfully realigning the work, structure, and focus of Ruby's Pantry, to ensure our mission remains at the center of everything we do. Okay, so that means they're getting their ducks in order, maybe consolidating, maybe something like that. That's what that sounds like to me. Okay, you're redoing the way you structure things. So as part of this process, we have worked to better align community needs with our goal of operating in the most effective and seamless way possible. As a result, we have decided to end the operations. So if you're working to better align community needs with your goal of operating in the most effective and seamless way possible, shutting things down ain't gonna work.
There you go, using that liberal arts education that you got there, Uncle Warren. That's that logical, critical thinking that that's no longer
things we're going to
fashionable.
do for you, but in the meantime, we're shutting her down.
Yeah, and the thing is, I've been aware of these food box programs for a while, and they've been going on. I remember when I was in college, they had them. I think at that time they were more like $10, but you would do 2 hours of volunteer work a month, and then you'd pay like $10-15 for a box of food that was worth like 4 times that.
Mm-hmm.
And the rule was, if you eat, you qualify. And it was something that they encouraged people who didn't need food assistance to participate, because the more money they put into it, the better pricing they could get on the foods that they were putting into the boxes. And as you notice with Ruby's Pantry, these boxes also include non-food items, which of course are not covered under SNAP. Right. And can be, probably, my guess is, I don't know, but they're probably hygiene items, things like that are absolutely critical for like keeping a job, because they don't want you stinking up the place. So this is in the fact that they are just using this language that makes no sense, that they ended operations immediately. I don't want to speculate, and I'm not going to, but this is not sounding good. It's happening at a time when these families, families and households absolutely need food, and it's become extremely expensive to get. So I'm hoping that the groups that have partnered with their affiliates that have partnered with them on this are going to be able to work together and to find alternatives, because 300,000 families a year,
Yeah.
that's a lot
And
of
that's
folks.
just one organization too. It would
Yeah.
probably behoove them to let people know why they shut down, and so that maybe we can help stop others from shutting down too, that are vital food arteries for people in other parts of the world too, or other parts of the country.
Yeah.
So let's switch over to our new our FCC chief. I guess he's not new. He's been there. Is he new? I don't think he is.
Well, he's been around for a bit. He's been around for a
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. It's like a white dog turd in the front yard. He's been around. Trump's FCC chief says his censorship protects the little guy. It really serves one powerful man. There he is right there. Brendan Carr. When FCC chair Brendan Carr talks about broadcast licensees serving the public interest, he loves to emphasize localism. Localism is the idea that powerful entities, in this case broadcasters, should serve the needs and interests of the communities they service. Sounds good so far. In the abstract, it's hard to agree. It's hard to argue with, especially at a time when news deserts are spreading, small town outlets are folding, and thanks to the administration which Carr serves, local public radio stations are reeling. When you look at the fights Carr actually picks with broadcasters over the public interest requirement, however, a curious pattern emerges. They aren't local stories at all unless you consider Tehran and San Salvador local. And if you're in Iran or El Salvador, you probably would consider them local. But everywhere else, we call that foreign. They're national and global stories that upset that not residents of underserved heartland communities, but President Donald Trump, the man who gilded face Carr wears in a lapel pin. Ugh.
Yeah.
That's creepy. Sure, when he's playing for the home crowd, Carr will openly admit and even brag about helping Trump reshape the national media to his liking. That's what he did at the Conservative Political Action Conference at CPAC on Friday, bragging about such wins as the Paramount Skydance merger and Trump's ongoing feud against media adversaries. Carr's FCC approved that deal only after unconstitutionally extracting editorial concessions from CBS News and helping Trump launder a multi-million-dollar alleged bribe through the courts. But in less partisan settings, from congressional testimony to mainstream media interviews, localism has become Carr's go-to talking point whenever he's pressed on his unconstitutional efforts to police news content or confronted with his past statements railing against the partisan suppression of news. He's not censoring the airwaves, he claims. He's just sticking up for the little guy. Yet Carr has never threatened a broadcast license because a newsroom ignored city council meetings or local crime or offered a biased take on a school board's budget decisions. It would, of course, violate the First Amendment for him to do that, too. The FCC, as Carr once said, does not have a roving mandate to police speech in the name of the public interest.
You think?
But at least it would be consistent with his populist gimmick. In fact, his threats arise from coverage on national news networks, not their local affiliates, which actually hold the broadcast licenses he's threatening to revoke. In other words, he's threatening to punish local news stations for national content they don't produce and sometimes don't even air that angers Trump. Yeah, that's a good little nutshell right there. So some of his greatest hits: when Trump complained that news outlets were running fake news about Iranian missile strikes, Carr warned that broadcasters running hoaxes and news distortions would lose their licenses if they didn't correct course. After MSNBC declined to carry a White House briefing on the deportation of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, Carr accused Comcast of ignoring obvious facts of public interest and warned news distortion doesn't cut it. MSNBC now, MS Now is not a local outlet. It's a cable station that the FCC doesn't even regulate. Carr investigated KCBS, a San Francisco radio station, leading to rampant self-censorship in fear of retaliation. That might sound local, but the story that drew his ire was about a federal immigration enforcement operation. Yes, that would be ICE. He didn't care if the locals in the Bay Area wanted to know what immigration officers were up to, only that his boss does not want them to know. Carr investigated CBS over the same interview with then Vice President Kamala Harris that Trump sued over, despite experts' virtually unanimous agreement that the claims were frivolous. Then he helped Trump shake down Paramount for the aforementioned palm grease by waiting until 2 days after Trump's settlement check arrived to approve CBS parent Paramount's merger with David Ellis and Skydance. Trump sued the BBC over a documentary about January 6th. Carr wrote to the heads of PBS and NPR demanding transcripts and video of any American broadcast of the program, claiming the British broadcast about events in D.C. contained news distortion. I love that, news distortion. I guess that's a nicer way of saying fake news. After late night host Jimmy Kimmel commented on the assassination of Charlie Kirk, Carr warned that if ABC and Disney did not take action against Kimmel, the FCC would act. We can do this the easy way or the hard way, he said, drawing comparisons to mafia movies. There's more here, but they're basically, you get the gist of it. They're not, it ain't local.
Yeah, it ain't local. Yeah, he's not going after anybody. I mean, I'm all about localism. Everybody, every responsible media person I know, we want local. We want local coverage. Like our friends over at Chicago Corner. I mean, they did some great stuff around those elections. Local is absolutely critical. It's why radio and local newspapers are so incredibly important. Broadcast television, again, incredibly important stuff. But he's not going after places that aren't covering local stuff. He's going after international stories or international and national stories that he doesn't like. The other thing, this just blowing my mind, is him actually telling stations what they should be running, like this whole 250th, which nobody in their right mind wants to celebrate because there's nothing to celebrate. And he's the one trying to influence programming. He's not supposed to be doing that. No. He should not be trying to influence programming. He's telling them to play Duke Ellington and George Gershwin and John Philip Sousa. And what the heck, when he came out with that 3 days later, I am listening on the local public station down here in Arkansas, and they're playing John Philip Sousa on the classical program. And it was fine, but it's like, I can't believe it. And I'm sure that the poor people at that station were very concerned and started just played it. I don't know if they were having a laugh or whatnot, but when I tune into the classical music station, I want what's being curated by the DJ, because I know these people are extremely knowledgeable. And to have this in there, I just sat there in my kitchen. I said, what timeline am I in?
Yeah. What I think some of these broadcasters, or even on the local level, understand is that they can push back.
Yeah.
If I was one of these stations, I would make a huge stink about it. I'd be, especially if I ran news on that channel too. Like, look, this is what the FCC is trying to coerce us into playing patriotic music. Yeah. Like we're state media or something. And we're not,
Well, but like this was a public station. It's a public station. And so it's relying on donations, and it's not for profit tax status. Who controls that?
Yeah.
I mean, this is why we need diverse media, because no media organization, including our own little organization here at the Undercurrent, Uncle Warren, there are things, that I can't talk about because of my job. And, everybody is going to be compromised in some way, which is why we need independent and plenty of them media organizations. And that's why it's so critical right now.
Well, the good thing is you're starting to see more and more independent media popping up here and there, which is great. Yeah. But at the same time, that's just more opportunity to be skeptical too. Yeah. I should, yeah, I always tell people on my shows, when even on this show here, you should always be skeptical, use your critical thinking skills.
And
We're
check out our
providing it.
show notes that we
Yeah,
provide you with.
we're providing information to you, and you can make your own decisions about things. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like if you give in to fear like that, yes, these government entities will take advantage of that. But if you push back, chances are they'll probably just leave you alone. And I don't think some of these places have figured that out yet. So figure it out so you can get these bullies off your back. This is fun, or scary, or both, or neither. Therapy sessions are being used to train AI. So over the past couple of weeks, this is from Matt Stoller. Where's this at? Okay. Over the past couple of weeks, I've gotten outreach from a few therapists who told me how corporate middlemen are entering the profession as platforms. And part of what they're doing is encouraging the recording of therapy sessions to potentially train artificial intelligence models. So I looked into it, and sure enough, it's happening. But how it's happening and why it's happening is only partly a technology story. It is more a story of how Wall Street is attempting to reorganize what has traditionally been an independent therapy profession, albeit one that never offered its services to all those in need. There's also pushback. States are starting to pass some laws that block financialization and widen access. So let's start with what's happening on the AI front, with some attempts to just replace therapists. Millions of people general purpose AI chatbots like ChatGPT for mental health support like functions, despite significant problems. There is something called TheraBot, developed by Dartmouth researchers, and Talkspace is reportedly focusing on building an LLM with its 140 million anonymized patient provider messages, 6.2 million completed psychological assessments, 1.2 million therapist diagnoses, and 4.3 million progress and psychotherapy notes. In a partridge in a pear tree. There's no long-term evidence on products like TheraBot, but these things do get a lot of press. You can go away. In terms of psychotherapy, chatbots cannot replace humans, though they can supplement existing care. Vale Wright of the American Psychological Association, in testimony on AI, told Congress that the bedrock of therapy is a trusted relationship and clinical judgment. AI doesn't have that and never will have that. And never say never. These people are like, oh yeah, well, you want clinical judgment? I'll give you clinical judgment. There are many reasons, such as privacy, conflicts of interest, and so forth, but the main one is functional. General purpose chatbots, when used for therapeutic purposes, just don't do the job. Occasionally, they even tell their users to kill themselves. Yes. I've heard about that too.
Yeah.
Then there are the therapist assistant products, which are more promising. Danny Fried, CEO of mental health tool provider Blueprint, bragged that his company has taped 12 million minutes of therapy. His goal is to get therapists to open up their four walls and let us listen to the content of a session so his AI tools can function. Blueprint is just one of several AI tools providers to aid therapists. There are two aspects to the service. The first is that Blueprint creates a summary of sessions, which can be used for electronic health records and billing purposes. This service is standard AI transcription and summarization with the same hallucination and errors we've seen everywhere with AI. The second is the service can offer prompts for therapists, giving them recommendation on where to take a session in real time. While this kind of tool set might seem creepy, Fried, along with the creators of most mental health tools, claims his company has strict data security standards, right? Until it leaks. Blueprint, he alleges, destroys all audio records shortly after intake, and his argument is that these tools are meant to help therapists, not replace them. That said, therapists themselves, like most people in America, are skeptical of the current commercial landscape. Companies like BetterHelp match patients with therapists, but it has been sued by the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, for sending data to Google to use for targeted advertising. Oh, BetterHelp, Google.
Oh,
And there are private equity firms trying to buy group practices, which has generally not worked out well.
really? Yeah, kind of like that whole housing thing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So last month, 2,400 mental health care workers at Kaiser in North California went on a 24-hour strike. They were protesting what they say is an illegal new triage system in their mental health and substance abuse helpline. Instead of having well-trained therapists making judgment calls about people calling in who might be suicidal, now those calls are handled by high school graduates reading off of a script and using a checklist. There's that one right there. Okay. So I've been reassigned from triage to other duties. Ilana Marcucci Morris, a licensed clinical social worker, told NPR, what used to always be a 10 to 15-minute screening from a licensed clinician like myself is now being conducted by unlicensed lay operators following a script or e-visit, so an app is triaging members' care's needs. Kaiser decided to degrade care and jeopardize patient health. The strikers were joined by 23,000 nurses in a similar situation of having to deal with harm to patients due to bad management decisions. But the situation isn't being discussed as an attempt of management to cheapen care. It is instead being framed as a question of whether AI will or should replace therapists. Absolutely not. We do not need that. I mean,
read
for
that.
like
Matt Stoller is a national treasure. He focuses on monopolies. By the way, that's his area of coverage. I saw that and I nearly fell right out of my chair. I mean, every week seems to be a new outrage. I'll need a therapist for that. But now I'm concerned I'm going to end up talking to a bot. I remember a while back when one of my hats, I guess, or collars that I wear, is I'm clergy, and I remember talking to somebody who was under my pastoral care, and we were chatting online, and he was having some difficulties, and he sounded fine. I mean, he sounded just fine when we were texting back and forth. And then we got on the phone. I said, I want to talk to you. Got on the phone, and again, his speech was measured. He was able to speak clearly, logically. But I noticed listening to him, there was something with his speech at the back of his throat, and it sounded like a strangled cry when he was speaking. Again, he was speaking very logically. I mean, and somebody who maybe didn't know him or wasn't really seriously listening to him would not have caught that. And I said, I'm catching this. I want you to contact the medical service and talk to the mental health team immediately. He did. There was an intervention. He thanked me later on for doing that. And an AI bot can't do that. And I'm not particularly sure somebody who's making $15 an hour going through a quiz and probably has a quota to meet is going to be able to do that as well. You need that human touch. I'm not a mental health professional. I did receive training in pastoral care and counseling at the graduate level when I was in seminary, but I'm not a mental health professional, which is why I wanted him to get in touch with one immediately. But I was able to catch that. And that's something that I'm sure that any good therapist would be able to do. But this is incredibly distressing that they're grabbing this data. They're using information. We know that is not as secure as anybody claims it is. And now that is going into the hands of these big data companies, which could be used to profile people for all kinds of purposes, including determining whether they get health care, whether they get insurance, whether they get a loan, whether they get an education or a job.
It goes back to like the cost of healthcare too, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people they'll ask ChatGPT, they'll put in like symptoms and stuff like that and say, what do I got? And of course, ChatGPT or whatever will say, well, I'm not a doctor. And then the person will come back and say, well, just guesstimate. And that's what people are doing. They're gambling on guesstimating to save some money because they know maybe they're not even insured. So they're trying to get some sort of health care, but avoid having to pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. But then when you talk about like mental health, yeah, exactly. Even though you're talking to a high schooler on the phone,
or high school with high school education,
or somebody that's reading off of a script, basically. Yeah. If for one thing, you're not helping that person by just reading off a script. And two, if that person knows that they're contacting you and they know you're reading off a script, and they know that you're using AI to help. A lot of times they'll just won't even call, or maybe they'll try something else because they don't trust the healthcare, or they can't afford the healthcare, so they use AI to supplement it. And these these doctors' offices, and if they're using AI to do like some sort of stuff that really they need, like what is it, an accountant for, or when it comes to billing and stuff like that, yeah, a lot of that stuff you can get done through AI. But the personal stuff, especially when you're dealing with mental health issues too, yes, you definitely got to have a human driver in the seat.
And honestly, it needs to be somebody, again, a licensed mental health professional, perhaps a grad student under supervision, who's a grad student in the area of mental health, a psychiatric nurse, somebody who is able to know what they don't know and elevate situations that are out of their control, and to make good decisions. And that is not something that an AI can do.
No. And I say never will be, but in 100 years, who knows? But I doubt it, to be honest with you. We told you about how Iran has and the United States have struck something of a temporary deal. That doesn't mean the war is over. So as we get to the man of war stings, Iran's still going. IRGC details Wave 100 strikes 25 strategic U.S.-Israeli linked targets. I love how they put the stuff on the bombs. They're like, this is for you. The IRGC announced that it launched the 100th wave of Operation True Promise 4 late last night, using a combination of ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and unmanned aerial vehicles, that's UAVs, or drones. The IRGC stated that this wave struck more than 25 strategic enemy targets, including 13 energy complexes and oil transport lines linked to the U.S. and the Israeli entity, as well as 10 military security and logistical targets and several technical targets and enemy infrastructure. According to the IRGC, the large-scale operation targeted a wide range of energy infrastructure, military installations, and strategic facilities across the region. Among the targets were multiple oil and gas facilities linked to U.S. companies in Saudi Arabia, including sites associated with Chevron and Ras Al Khaimah, as well as petrochemical installations belonging to ExxonMobil and Dow Chemical in Al Jubail. Additional strikes reportedly hit oil infrastructure in Yanbu along the Red Sea coast. The IRGC also reported strikes on energy facilities in other Gulf states, including oil installations in Habshan in the UAE, part of a pipeline network transporting crude oil from Dubai to Al Fujairah, as well as key ExxonMobil linked facilities in Ras Laffan, Qatar. Welcome back, Qatar. Oil facilities in Bahrain, including those tied to Bapco and the Das Island refinery in the UAE, were also listed among the targets. Let me see here. Beyond energy targets, the IRGC said the operation extended to Israeli-linked sites, including technology and intelligence centers in Bir al-Sabeh, as well as intelligence and surveillance hubs in the Azrieli and Almas Towers in Tel Aviv. Ben Gurion Airport and the Haifa oil refinery were targeted, in addition to the government complex in the capital that houses command and control centers. Yikes. So basically they had they made the deal, but as these things are, before they're formally put into place, boom, 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 everybody's just going to bomb the hell out of each other. And that's why you're seeing more shots from Iran to Israel getting bombed. Israel saying they don't want to be a part of the ceasefire, so they're going to continue to bomb Lebanon, which probably means that Hezbollah is going to keep bombing Israel, which means Yemen's probably going to bomb Israel. Woo! It's nutty out there. But it seems like
the rockets red glare. Yes.
Yeah, it seems like Iran has the upper hand in this since Trump, he was like, okay, I'll listen. I did enough of this. Now I'll do some of this. Yeah. So, and that's going to keep on. I mean, that's the thing. It's like Iran said, look, we own, they didn't say this outright, but they said, look, we own the Strait of Hormuz. You want stuff to come through here, you're going to play by our rules and you're going to pay. Otherwise, get the hell out.
Yeah.
And the U.S. knows this. That's why they're doing all this blustery, you know, that's how we've always done. We're number one. We're number one. Nobody's going to get the better of us. Well, guess what? Iran got the better of us. They did.
Big time. Big time. And I'm going to reserve judgment until some of this settles, the dust settles. But I think we've gotten played really, really bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we have too. I think Trump's idiot brain decided to listen to the wrong person on this. And well, here we are now. The old, was it FAFO? They've FA'd. Now they're
they
FOing.
sure have.
They are FOing right now. That's for sure. As we told you, Israel has, they said they would stop bombing Iran, but not Lebanon because they're assholes. Massive Israeli bombing of Lebanon kills, injures hundreds in Beirut alone. The Israeli army launched a massive wave of brutal and deadly airstrikes on the Lebanese capital, Beirut, today, hours after rejecting the inclusion of Lebanon in a newly announced ceasefire initiative to end the war in Iran. So strikes hit Ain al-Tanay, Barbour, Ain al-Mrisa, Corniche al-Mazra, Bir Hassan, and several other names I can't pronounce. I'm sorry. Several other parts of central Beirut and the outskirts and suburbs of the capital. My apologies, but I give it the old college try when it comes to these names. I'm not scared. I just sound stupid. Video footage from across the capital showed large clouds of smoke in densely populated civilian neighborhoods. Massive destruction has occurred. Injuries are numerous and the number of martyrs is high. The situation is difficult and we are doing everything we can to save them, said Secretary General of the Lebanese Red Cross, George Katani. Hospitals are overwhelmed. Airstrikes also hit South Lebanon and the country's east, including Tir Sur and Saida in the south and Hermel and Shmistar in the east. More than 300 have been killed and wounded in Beirut and the southern suburbs alone, and many victims are trapped under rubble, according to the Red Cross. Israeli army spokesman Iviche Adre said that warplanes carried out a large-scale bombing across Beirut, the Bekaa, and southern Lebanon, targeting around 100 sites in 10 minutes. Yikes. He described the bombing as the largest since February 28th. He already announced a new operation in Lebanon dubbed Eternal Darkness. Maybe not have such apocalyptic names for your operations there. That might help. Just before the attacks hit
side
Beirut,
is it maybe yeah, never mind.
What's that?
The apocalyptic names. I have opinions, but never mind. Just go on.
Just before the attacks hit Beirut, Hezbollah released a statement urging civilians to avoid returning to South Lebanon and other targeted areas until the ceasefire is official. The deadly wave of strikes on Lebanon comes hours after the U.S. agreed to a 2-week ceasefire with Iran following President Trump's acceptance of a 10-point plan from Tehran as a basis for further negotiations. As we said, more negotiations in Islamabad, Pakistan this Friday. At least that's the plan. And we told you about the 10-point plan there. So they're going to continue bombing Lebanon as part of the Greater Israel Project. Whether they'll get to complete that project, though, that's going to be, I think that's going to be up to Iran to decide now.
Yeah, I fully agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
Iran is, Iran may not hold all the cards, but has a lot of them.
They ain't scared. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you see like these videos of them when Trump said he was going to target their bridges and power stations. You see people like doing, hands across America, shit, like, holding the hands, in front of like power plants and bridges and stuff like that. They show them protesting in the streets and bombs are blowing up. These people ain't got no fear. When you don't have any fear, that's dangerous, or it could be dangerous for those who that are trying to scare them, and it ain't working. Yeah, it ain't working. Let's step into the press pool. And Trump loves to threaten journalists. He that's the thing. It's like when you find out he's just a blowhard and he don't mean a third or a fourth of what he says. I think that's what Iran figured out. He's like, this guy's just nothing but full of shit. Okay, so keep talking, and we'll charge money through the Strait of Hormuz while you tuck tail and run. So, but Trump threatens to jail journalists who received leak about U.S. pilot down in Iran. I think this was an F-35, or an F-15. Okay. So Trump vowed Monday to find the leaker who disclosed that U.S. forces could not locate the second pilot stranded in Iran after their F-15 fighter jet was shot down, threatening to jail unnamed journalists who received the information if they do not reveal its source. Dun, dun, dun. Trump claimed that Iranian authorities did not know that a second pilot of the down two-seat warplane was missing until after the news report, which made the U.S. rescue mission much more difficult. We're looking very hard to find that leaker, Trump said. Oh, wait a minute. We're looking very hard to find that leaker, Trump said. We think we'll be able to find it out because we're going to go to the media company that released it and we're going to say national security, give it up or go to jail. National security, take a drink. There it is. It's that old drinking gang. Every time you hear national security, fuckery is about to happen. So take a drink. The country, Iran, put out a major... Oh, is he still talking? Yeah, okay. The country, Iran, put out a major notice offering a very big award for anybody that captures the pilot, Trump continued. We have to find that leaker because that's a sick person. Probably didn't realize the extent of how bad it was. Probably wasn't. We're going to find out yet. It's national security, and the person that did the story will go to jail if he doesn't say. It's national security. Trump, what did you do today? National security. While the president did not say which media company he was talking about, the first widely cited reporting about the missing second pilot was broadcast Friday on CNN, CBS News, and the New York Times. Israel journalist Amit Siegel, who has close high-level links to the government of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, claimed Monday on his Telegram channel that he was the first to publish information on the second pilot. We're about to see Trump's promise to find and imprison whoever leaked the info about the second pilot vanish into the ether, said Ryan Grimm on social media in response to Siegel's post. Both pilots were successfully rescued. Some critics mocked Trump for presuming that Iranians would not know that the two-seat F-15 is crewed by multiple pilots.
Since he probably doesn't know himself.
Yeah. I don't even know what F-15 means. Is that like some sort of vitamin you take or something? Is that a thing? Since early in his first administration, Trump has discussed jailing journalists and political foes who leak or refuse to say who disclosed information. The president has also long denigrated journalists as the fake news media, except for Fox News. He seems to be okay with them. And the enemy of the people, sowing distrust of an entire profession that culminated in physical attacks on reporters during the January 6th, 2021 Capitol insurrection. Trump's threat comes as the president said he is considering blowing everything up. Well, he said that and then he did do it. He caved. So yeah, and we've got something like this going on at the Pentagon too. They're only allowing journalists to ask approved questions, I think, or if they have information that they gleaned from anonymous sources or whatnot, that they can't use that. And the only thing that happens when you threaten as a leader in quotes, obviously, you threaten journalists, it's always a lose situation for you, because as somebody who's threatening the fourth estate, somebody that's supposed to be keeping tabs on you, and a lot of times they don't, it just makes you look like a tyrant. I've seen presidents in the past complain about certain reporters in the past, but never went whole cloth on like whole divisions of people. Although these news outlets today are something lacking, to be sure. So, whoa, you all right
me,
there?
we just had, yes, just something just went kerplooey here.
Hang on a
Caught by
second.
my cat. It was.
It's okay. We'll let you deal with your cat situation and those kitties.
You gotta watch these kitties. I don't know. Maybe he has got some kind of a mind laser that is affecting the cat at this point. All
Or
right,
maybe the cat's a journalist and it wasn't too thrilled about. You see there?
Yeah, here we are.
You okay?
I'm just fine. I'm just fine. It was just the camera that went spinning.
Yeah, let's go ahead and fix that.
Yeah, we're gonna fix this up. One moment, please, folks.
You want me to take you off?
Yeah, take me off here, and then I am going to go diving for the rest of my.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, you start threatening journalists, and all you do is make yourself look like El Douchebago. I'm telling you, these cats, man, these cats have a mind of their own, and they're such critics. Let's try that now.
Is pretty angry with me at this point, so because I have not been feeding him continuously. I do apologize to everybody about that. This is independent media for you.
That's right. We blame cats for all our problems around here. I have long fingernails. I haven't cut them. I blame your cat. So. What the hell was we got a few more things here and then we're done.
We do.
We're cooking with gas. Ned Nicole, yeah.
Ned the cat, yes.
That could have been a catastrophe. Do we have things here? Oh wait, we got this. Oh, thank you. All right, enough of that nonsense. Let's get to our nonsense here as we take attendance at the clownfish school. This one's a wild story.
Yeah.
Going at the Waffle House, you got to say the. If you're going to put Waffle House, you always got to say the. Or if it's Walmart, you got to say the Walmart or the Target. It's got to be the.
Or the Jewels.
The Jewels, yeah. So no one at the Waffle House remembers FEMA official who says he teleported in. This is the. Okay. Shastoni Burge has worked for a decade as a Waffle House server in Rome, Georgia, much of it on the night shift. She said she was once punched in the face by a customer. It wasn't me. I don't punch people. I tickle them. She saw someone overdose in the bathroom. One night, a man took all the steak knives and threatened the staff with them, but she has never seen anyone teleport to the place. I've seen it all, said Miss Burge, but I've never seen that. Nor, Miss Burge says, has she ever laid eyes on Greg Phillips, a top official at FEMA, who has generated numerous headlines and at least one biting late-night comedy segment for his claim that he once teleported to a Waffle House in Rome, a city of 39,000 people northwest of Atlanta. Not Rome, Italy, but Rome, Georgia. Rome, if you want to. Roam around the world. Indeed, among roughly 24 workers and regulars interviewed this week at Rome's 3 Waffle House locations. 3? Look at you.
This is some investigative reporting right here.
What kind of metropolis is this? They got 3 Waffle House locations. None said they were aware of anyone traveling to the 24-hour restaurant by paranormal means, despite their reputation as powerful magnets for that sort of idiosyncratic characters who tend to surf the psychic fringes of the American South. That's true. If you're going to find any kind of entity, more than likely you'll probably find him at the Waffle House at 3 a.m. In December, Mr. Phillips, a former top health official in Texas, was appointed to head FEMA's Office of Response and Recovery. Apparently not the Office of Teleportation. The office, with more than 1,000 employees and a budget of nearly $300 million, is central to FEMA's job of responding to disasters like hurricanes, earthquakes, and fires. Mr. Phillips was known at the time as a proponent of election fraud conspiracy theories, some of which were amplified by Trumpy. Things got stickier for Mr. Phillips last month when an investigative report by CNN detailed how on podcasts and social media he had propagated other conspiracy theories, used violent rhetoric in discussing former President Joe Biden, and recounted how on 2 occasions he had somehow found himself being moved by forces beyond his control dozens of miles from 2 different starting points in Georgia. We call it Greyhound. It's called a bus, and then you sit down, and you don't have to drive. They do the driving for you. Teleporting is no fun, he said on the podcast Onward, which is hosted by a conservative activist and also a teleportationist, I imagine. Ridicule has been mounting online. Here's why I know he's lying, wrote John Podhoretz, editor of Commentary Magazine, on the Twitters this week. Here's why I know he's lying. You can't teleport. All right, sorry. Given the fact that teleportation has a theoretically infinite travel distance, he could have ended up at a Buc-ee's or a Culver's or a cheesecake factory. On Wednesday, Mr. Phillips wrote on Truth Social, Trump's social media platform, that the incident took place while he was heavily medicated as part of a cancer treatment. Well, heavy meds. You'll think you're time traveling, teleporting. But he also described it as a miracle performed by God. The word teleportation was not mine, Mr. Phillips wrote. It was used by someone else in the conversation, reaching for language to describe something with no easy name. The more accurate biblical terms are translated or transported, not new ideas for people of faith. Again, a Greyhound bus will do the same thing. Well, maybe not the translating, although you may need some translation on the bus. But no one at any of these 3 Waffle Houses recognized his picture. Well, maybe he just popped in and popped out. It may could have been like, hey, let me get some coffee. Okay, bye. In a phone interview.
Hash browns?
No hash, smattered, smothered, covered. Poof. I gotta go. He said, because teleporting's no fun. In a phone interview Thursday, Sidney Perkowitz, emeritus professor of physics at Emory University, said that pulling off the teleportation of an entire human being would be a neat trick. The amount of information you need to reproduce something as complicated as a body is so immense, and I don't think there's a number that can express it, he said. Expressing what you need about every atom, every electron, etc., is just off the charts as far as the data goes. Well, then how does Star Trek do it? Huh? They do it all on multiple shows. Stupid. FEMA's press office did not immediately respond to a request for comment Friday. Oh, gee, I wonder why. All right, that's enough of this. So this guy's getting paid to tell bullshit stories about teleporting to Waffle Houses. Is that what this is?
Well, he's getting paid ostensibly to help manage, disaster recovery and processes during a time when we're seeing increased need for such services. And
he might be burying the lead, because why don't you just teleport the storms out of there? Why can't he just do that?
One would think. The other thing I'm finding extremely amusing about this is, you've heard of the Waffle House Index?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So Waffle House has one of the best world-class disaster monitoring and management systems. It is the goal of Waffle House to be continuously open, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And they want to keep them open. So they're constantly monitoring the country for disaster threats so they can be prepared to keep the Waffle Houses open. And they have their own index, which is, if it's green, the operations are normal. If it's yellow, it means that the Waffle House there's some serious stuff going on, and the Waffle House is offering a limited menu. That may mean that they are bringing in refrigerated trucks or generators or propane heaters, and the limited menu may just be hot coffee, but people can go in there and get something. If it's red, it's closed down. If a Waffle House is closed down, that's online. That's in line with apocalypse. I mean, that means something really, really bad has happened, and it's just too dangerous. They can't even get the refrigerated trucks or the propane in, or it's not safe for them to be operating. And there was a longstanding rumor that FEMA followed this index for its own assessments of disasters. And eventually, FEMA did come to admit that they were doing this. And I'm not blaming them for it, but it's just very funny that a FEMA guy ends up teleporting to not one, but two Waffle Houses, given this long-standing symbiotic relationship.
Well, they could have been out of grits at one of them.
Possibly.
And if you're out of grits, why are you even at a Waffle House? I mean, that's like the basis for life is grits, but people don't seem to understand that. Well, we go
Do you
from
like sugared or unsugared grits?
I like more. I'm a savory kind of guy. I like to do the old fried egg, break it up, mix it in there, and then scoop that on some buttered toast. I can feel my arteries clogging already. But it's so good, so good. But you had mentioned Oklahoma earlier. We go to Oklahoma City now for some more clownfish dumb shit. Maybe we should call that. That's what we should call it, clownfish dumb shit. As Oklahoma City police officers placed on leave over April Fool's Day 9/11 call or 911 call to dispatchers. 9/11 is something else. Oklahoma City Police Department has placed officers on leave after reports of an April Fool's Day prank that sent squad cars in pursuit of a baby being thrown out of a car before the call was revealed as a hoax. Yeah, you got any crimes you got to solve there in Oklahoma City? Oklahoma City Police Captain Valerie Littlejohn confirmed Monday that an internal investigation was ongoing, but would not say how many officers were placed on administrative leave or provide details of the accusations. We are aware of a reported pursuit involving some of our officers that included serious claims, which has since been determined to be false, Littlejohn said in a statement. We take the situation seriously and are committed to ensuring a thorough review is conducted. What, they're investigating themselves? You know how that works out. The investigation followed published police radio audio from the night of April 1st, reported by Oklahoma City television station KFOR. That's KFOR, Oklahoma City. And other stations in which a dispatcher says that the city just advised that the suspect threw a baby out the window. The police officer that's in pursuit does not have a radio. He's just messaging his location, the dispatcher says. After a number of officers responded to the report, a dispatcher can later be heard saying it was an April Fool's prank. Another dispatcher says, not funny. Well, yeah, you're fucking around out there. A message left Monday with the president of Oklahoma City Police Union president seeking comment on the incident was not immediately returned. Gee, I wonder why. Oklahoma law makes it a misdemeanor crime to report knowingly false information, which could result in the dispatch of emergency services from any public agency. Punishment is a fine of up to $500 and an assessment for any costs associated with dispatching emergency personnel. So you wonder why people don't like cops hardly anymore. But what about the good ones? Well, even the good ones do dumb shit. And are they not self-aware enough to know that people are watching what the cops are doing now these days? And when they do dumb shit like this, it's like, what do you, and you're supposed to take the police seriously when they do stuff like this. It's ridiculous.
There's not much I can say here. I mean, the utter lack of judgment.
Yeah.
The utter lack of judgment.
Well, I mean,
somebody could have been hurt. Somebody could, if they were all going to the scene, I mean, somebody could have been hurt.
Oklahoma City is not a small town either.
No, it's not.
They have an NBA team, for God's sakes. That's so it's not like you're farting around out in the country and like, hey, we gonna throw a baby out the window. We's just funning. We's just funning. Don't listen to us. There's that. But then when you're like, you have a city, and then this goes out to and a whole bunch of cops hear it. It's like, yeah. Your priorities, are lacking, to say the least. Well, finally today we have an out of this world story for you.
Another one?
Out of this world. You get it? Because of the thing. Artemis 2 swings back around after completing record-setting moon flyby. So it's weird seeing these pictures. Well, they have some, but it's like they're not very good on here. I don't know why they did this. So you're like, well, record breaking. What's that about? So Artemis 2 astronauts broke Apollo 13's distance record at 1:57 p.m. Eastern time Monday, hugging each other in the cramped capsule as they made history for becoming the first 4 humans to travel the farthest from Earth. About 5 hours later at 7:02 p.m. Eastern, the crew reached the furthest point in its mission before swinging back around at 252,756 miles from Earth, about 4,111 miles farther than the ill-fated Apollo 13 mission in 1970. That was the one that was I think it was supposed to land on the moon. That was the Tom Hanks movie where things were getting messed up and they had to fix it and stuff. It's blowing my mind what you can see with the naked eye from the moon right now. The Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen radioed ahead of the flyby. It's just unbelievable. He challenged this generation and the next to make sure this record is not long-lived. Yeah, I think we were thinking about that back in the 70s. Like, oh man, we'll be going to Mars, we'll be going to Jupiter, we never even went back to the moon. The astronauts Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, and Christina Koch of the U.S. Space Agency, NASA, and Hansen of the Canadian Space Agency. I hear their rockets are fueled by maple syrup and nice
waffles.
And waffles. Our Earth's farthest traveled, having journeyed 5,000 miles beyond the moon, exceeding the distance record set by Apollo 13 in 1970. Astronauts on the emergency flyby in 1970 with Commander Jim Lovell, Fred Hayes, and Jack Swigert reached a maximum 248,655 miles from Earth before making their turn. Hours after the Artemis quartet surpassed that distance record, the capsule passed on the far side of the moon, starting a communications blackout that lasted for about 40 minutes. Well, at least a communications blackout with Earth. Who knows who they were talking to on the other side of the moon there? Maybe Pink Floyd was over there. We'll see you on the dark side of the moon. Sorry. We'll see you on the other side, said Glover, minutes before the connection was lost. NASA reconnected with the spacecraft about 20 minutes later. So this was one of these things where they went to the moon, where it's like, for some reason they had lost the technology to go to the moon the old way. So I guess they had to reinvent everything. And this one was just let's see if we can just go around it. And I think the actual lunar landing with more people they may not do that until next year. So we should have had like space stations and stuff on there, moon bases by now. Remember that? We were supposed to have like the Jetsons and shit. And here we are. We're going back to the moon. Oh, we're just flying around it. Okay.
A lot of things were supposed to have happened, Uncle Warren.
Are you saying I should get used to disappointment? Is that what it is?
Dude, we're Gen X.
What the? Yeah. That should have been ingrained long ago. I know. I'm just kidding. I'm not disappointed. I was well prepared for that disappointment. But it's kind of cool though. And really the only reason we're going back to the moon is because China's up there. They got little rovers and stuff going around there. Oh, can't have that. We can't let the Chinese have the moon to themselves. Let's go back up.
We're going to have bumper cars up there.
We're going to have. Yeah, it's going to be like carnival rides. We're going to have the what is it? The tilt-a-whirl.
Rock'em Sock'em robots. We're going to have,
I know, right? Well, I mean, if they were serious about going to Mars and other places, we've already had a moon base up there because there's 1/6 of the gravity of Earth, right? So that means, I don't know how that works mathematically, but it seems like 1/6 of the amount of fuel needed to go to like other places if you wanted to go to Mars or Titan or some of these other places in the solar system. I wanted us to do that. I remember as a little kid seeing the rockets take off, and then it got to a point where they stopped showing it because they kept doing it all the time, right?
Yeah.
And then they stopped going. We're like, wait, what? No, we didn't say do that. But here we are, and now we're back 50 years later. So they wanted to screw Gen X out of having a space future. That's what it was. They didn't want Gen
Very
X
likely. Although I
to
know my
be.
parents, they got me out. I was 6 months old, and they got me out of bed to watch it, because they thought it was that important when the moon landing happened.
Yeah, I mean the first one. I guess we were just infants then, because it was in June. Was it
Yeah.
June or
Yeah.
was it
You and
July?
I were infants because
Yeah,
you're 2 weeks older than me.
yeah. It was 60. Yeah, it was. Was it June 20th or July 20th? I think it was July 20th. That they landed on the moon. And it's a big deal. I remember my dad was pretty excited about it
Well,
too.
everybody was excited about it.
You know,
It was something else, and, I mean, I think about my parents, that loved me so much that they wanted to make sure I'd seen it, even though I was just a baby and they knew I would never remember it. So
yeah,
that's kind of, for me, kind of a neat memory to know
yeah.
that they did that.
I can barely remember in black and white the some of the liftoffs, and they would, and then after a while, it was just an afterthought. Like, oh yeah, they got another mission going to the moon today. You know, like it was business as usual. And I thought that's the way it was going to be. I thought it was like, okay, now we're just going to be going back and forth to the moon. Boom, 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 boom,
Mm-mm.
boom. I don't know if you've ever seen this TV show called For All Mankind. If you haven't, and you're a space, like a moon enthusiast, I highly recommend it. It's Ronald D. Moore, who was involved with Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica, but it's basically an alternative history. If the Russians had landed on the moon, had the first man on the moon or first person on the moon, what would the United States do? And it was interesting how the space race kept going, and we were building bases on the moon. They were building bases on the moon, and you were having like cell phones in the 80s, right? The internet was like in the 80s. All this stuff had been moved up technologically earlier because we were still fighting to get to the moon and beat the Russians.
That we were.
Yeah, he screwed up Apollo 13, I think. That was the one.
Well, it's interesting. There was back in the old days of the Jesus movement that happened in the late 60s, early 70s. Larry Norman was one of the musician at the time, and he was very big on calling out the military industrial complex and poverty. And at one point, he had, in one of his songs, he said, you say we beat the Russians to the moon. I say you starved your children to do it. That's what even some evangelicals were saying back then. This was before things got particularly nuts. And that's what he came right out and said.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, like this is one of the big fears of organized religion, is finding out that there may be other advanced or intelligences out there, maybe not like us, like biologically, but if if your holy book says, that you're the ones, and then all of a sudden, where'd all these people come from? The Bible doesn't mention that, then you start getting into more deeper conversations about deeper questions, especially for those folks that are the aliens. Like, do you know Jesus is your personal savior? Who? Oh, we're gonna have a big problem then. It's like, well, they're from another place. They don't know who the local, religious people are. Anyway, all I know is I wanted to be working on the moon by the time I was in my 30s, and well, that didn't happen. So, but who knows? Maybe once we finally hit rock bottom as a country, we'll finally figure out that we need to take care of our people, that we actually need to plan for the future and stuff like that. We need to up our technology, but at the same time, keep our humanity in check too.
We need to pick our battles.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's coming. It's probably not anytime soon, but hopefully within our lifetimes we'll see it, but we'll see. But that's it for today. That's all the show we got.
It was a great show. Good to see you, Uncle Warren. Sorry for the catastrophe.
Catastrophe, yes.
I'll be having strong words with Ned about that little escapade.
And that's
So
it. I want my 15 minutes of fame.
Yes.
So let's see. Programming wise, we'll be back again next week at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Central Time here on YouTube and Rumble and Facebook and Substack. And
Yep.
hopefully soon we'll be back on Instagram. They changed some things recently, so we have to wait on that, but
Yeah.
we'll get there. If you want to
We'll get
subscribe to the do you have your link for the Instagram channel in there? We only need what, like you only need like what, 20 something?
Yeah, something like that at this point. Let me go grab that link right now. This is my own personal Instagram account. And again, it's not so much that people are watching it that often, but it does ping people to know that the show is on.
Right.
So if you could give me and my personal account, if you could also follow our Facebook and our Instagram accounts, we can start building those, but they're further away from being able to give us the ability to stream live. So there it is.
Yeah, and we are as far as our YouTube channel is concerned, I think we're up to 78 now. We're getting very close. We're only about 22 away from 100 subscribers. So spread the word like smooth, creamy peanut butter across a nice.
And we do appreciate everybody's support. I'm going to
Yeah.
put also our link tree in there one more time for you to check out. You can check out where we're at. And again, our Substack is kind of cool because it does give you a notification if for some reason some censorship starts coming down. It's one other way for us to be in touch with you. The more you can connect with us, and it's helpful to us, but it also ensures that we stay in touch even if things start to get really strange.
And things will probably get stranger still.
Yeah.
That is a very high possibility of happening. Yeah, so this show next week, I'll be back on again Friday morning for Morning Extra, doing the news for about 3 hours, and Friday evening we do the secret show. So I might do something a little bit different this week. I usually run a bunch of videos and we all laugh and cackle and stuff like that. May do something different. I will see. I'm gonna work on that. But again, this show will be back next week. We got clips, new clips out of this show. You'll start seeing those tomorrow. We do 2 a day to want to watch the entire show in its entirety.
Yeah. And you can share them too on social media. I mean, if you want to share one of those, great. We'd appreciate it. Put it in your stories, put it in your posts. That'd be fantastic.
Spread the word far and wide that we're here for a limited time only. Just like McRib, only we don't have any. I have some artificial flavors. I have red dye number 6. Sorry, I don't know what I'm talking
about. I have hair dye.
I'm dying of hunger. I need something to eat. Yeah, that didn't work. All right, I guess that's it. Thanks everybody in the chats. If you're watching this in the future, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. All the information and goodies are down below in that little ticker down there and also in the description below. Again, we'll be back next week with this show. Anything you need to say before we get out of here?
Be safe, be good, use your best judgment, and do not let the news get you down. We have to stay as happy as we can.
That's right, folks.
On this. We do.
Stay frosty, be skeptical, use your critical thinking skills, stay out of the cults, and let's make the world a better place for real and not some bullshit. That's it. Peace out, y'all. Smell you later.